Hi, this is my latest update on the markets. My last video update was sometime in July, and each of the updates that I've put out over the last 1 year that I've been doing on these videos have essentially been at highs, which means looking for market tops, and each of them led to a drop of around 5 to 7%, except for the one in July where we didn't get much of a sell-off and the market actually rallied right through. So what's really kept me here is looking for a clear sign or signature of what is happening. While the index actually got past 18,500 and I was writing that once it does, we would be looking at a bigger picture. I wanted a lot of things to fall in place in terms of what the picture was going to really look like, and I think now there are enough signs of that happening. So what is this picture, and where do all the theories that have been bouncing around for the last year really stand in that place? So I'll discuss first some of the theories that I've written about and then come down to exactly what I'm expecting. I've discussed over time the chondrotype cycle. Some people have told me that maybe the cycle itself doesn't work, but that's not completely true, because the cycle is essentially an event cycle. It specifies a flow of events that occur over a long period of time, which could be 60 to 80 years. And it's not really a time cycle. So in terms of event, you did get a chondrotype summer into the early 90s. Those of you who've seen that period would know high inflation and high interest rates that usually come with the summer of a chondrotype summer cycle. And then that gets typically followed by weakening interest rates and weakening inflation till you reach a point where low interest rates actually drive another cycle of growth. And that's the autumn. That's the final cycle before winter. In the last year, because of a lot of the theories around the global deflation trend, I think a strong bias ended up building in terms of that the markets would actually fall off and that the autumn would not extend. But it appears that most of these theories stand flawed at this moment, because inflation and deflation really are a function of monetary action. And that brings up the next theory, that is socionomics. Does really social mood, always a change in mood, mean that you will take steps that would be against monetary direction of action, which means a negative social mood should mean contraction in money supply. It's not necessary, as we are seeing right now. So that theory directly expecting those things to play out, again, is flawed. Probably those trends are much longer term, or maybe we need to look at the whole thing in a different way. So what it really means for us is, doing away with those biases and purely looking at what's happening in terms of monetary action. We've been seeing expansion in money supply. The first round came with all the bailouts, and then it looked like probably that would not follow through beyond a point. But with the index beyond the range of 16 to 18,000 and the S&P now going beyond its sonic triangle, which I've mailed in the last couple of weeks, what it really means is that you're still going through an expansionary cycle and you're going to stage 3 of inflation. In terms of chondrotype, that means the autumn extends. Again, like I said, it's not a time cycle. In the 20s, the US chondrotype autumn lasted for 10 years, but this time around, from the late 70s to early 80s, it's lasted for more than 20 years. So you can extend the chondrotype autumn if you allow debt levels to keep expanding. So India's debt level is high today at 135-40% to debt to GDP, but it can definitely extend to 200% or more, provided the environment is right, which means you do not get any external shocks, no war or no financial crisis. And since this crisis so far has been managed and we are again able to expand liquidity, it essentially means that the chondrotype autumn in India can extend, and while maybe different forces are alive in other parts of the world. So the scenario that has now built up is that you're entering stage 3 of inflation, which means what we saw over a year back when I wrote about the relative rupee a year back that would cause inflation, and you got inflation, but what you didn't get is, you didn't get very strong monetary action to stop it. It just slowed it down a bit. And I think governments were patient enough to actually wait and let the problem solve itself by the base effect or through a good monsoon. And now what that means is that you go into the next stage where you actually get inflation across the system, because inflation is not just about metal prices or vegetable prices. It's really about increasing prices of everything, which means wage inflation, consumer good inflation, service inflation. Everything that's priced moves up in value because of the expansion in money supply. You increase the amount of money in the system, and everything's priced in that money moves up. And I think that's the cycle that we're going to now enter, which means what you're actually going to expect now is a boom which will be driven by repricing across sectors. Now, this is my theory. It really needs to be investigated where and what can happen. But my sense is that one significant underlying will be repricing. A lot of sectors which were not able to go through repricing earlier because of overcapacity or cyclical downtrend that started from the mid-90s, maybe in the FMCG or pharma sectors, maybe in textiles, maybe in some commodities like tea, paper. You could actually get completely change in things. Now, this would be very. This is what essentially, I guess, maybe I was looking for, because even in 2003, when I got extremely bullish on our markets, I thought the tech sector would underperform, and you'd get a shift to maybe the core sectors, which meant cement, power, capital goods, and so on, and that's essentially, and banking, and that's what essentially happened. You needed a new, larger trend for really another bull cycle to happen. Simply the rally from 9 to 12,000 saw the older sectors like metals, autos, and banks do well, but you couldn't really see a larger trend emerging. So this is one possible larger trend emerging as you enter the next cycle of inflation, which you can see in three things. And a lot of people asking me, can you really confirm that we're heading into a larger next move? So the confirmation essentially comes from one, rising currencies. Okay, the first time to me came from the Australian dollar, because I was looking at all the emerging market currencies, and then data from the Brazilian real, which both of which started making new highs recently. And then the next thing you look at is commodity prices. So you can see wave 3 developing in copper, lead. I think lead was probably the most clear one, and then nickel and aluminium following along those lines. So you got two trends, and then I recently saw a third one building up, and that's in agro commodities, and very much in even Indian agro commodities, some of them which were for years in trading range, whether it's pepper, jeera, chana. All of these commodities, after spending years in a consolidation range, are actually showing signs of turning up at various cycle degrees, monthly charts, monthly momentum turning bullish, weekly, daily, all of them turning bullish at various time degrees. So that means that you're going to get a big move in agro commodity prices going forward. Now, this necessarily might not mean food inflation or a WPI or CPI inflation, which actually comes out in government numbers, but you will get increase in prices of various things which are not really measured there, which I said, it's going to be consumer items, it could be sectors, it could be services. I don't know whether it's hospitality or it's airlines, it could be any kind of services that could get repriced. So we're looking at a new cycle that could really be the driver of asset prices, that means equities, real estate, and so on. And these trends would actually lead the index to probably much higher levels. So I think the key testing point would probably be close to around 26,000, which is 1.382 times the bear market. In the short term, I think the seasonality allows for a bullish cycle up to Jan. So definitely in the short term, I don't see much of a problem till Jan 2011. And then at that point, we might probably revisit this theory, and I guess you'll get more evidence as it goes along. But I think what I can see on the charts is a lot of the momentum cycles already turning positive across these segments. So I think it could culminate into a larger 6-month trend. But its first testing point would probably come sometime in Jan, and then if we pass that test, then we could actually look at the cycles extending to higher targets, in which case targets of 35,000 and higher would become possible. So I think what what I've really highlighted here is that the contract cycle autumn really is extending as far as India is concerned, and which means that we will not probably get the larger deflationary forces playing out in the near term. It might happen maybe sometime later. You may have postponed it maybe for a year, maybe for another 2 years before we reach that point, and in the interim you will have huge inflationary or emerging market cycle which could be playing out, and you need to look for the right opportunities in that area to make the most of it. So that's all from me. I hope I have given you enough food for thought based on the trends that are emerging, and it's important to look at all of these factors because we are at 21,000, exactly where the previous bear market started, but because you've consolidated between 16 and 18,000 for almost 9 months, this breakout is probably not one that's going to halt at 21,000, but one probably that's going to go right through it, and it's important to really have made sure that that's exactly what's happening so far. All the indicators that I've discussed are telling me that that's exactly what we're going to be looking at. So you need to be poised on the right side of the market.